everyone. Welcome to Mentor Musings. My name is Dennis. I'm actually the producer of the show. JC and Brett, they are going to do a little segment today, what we are now calling Mentor Answers. So JC and Brett, the question is very simple, and hopefully our audience or new audience, when they come to this episode, is able to understand why be an entrepreneur.
You're right. One question, and it's a loaded question. And good morning, Dennis, and welcome to the limelight here. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate this.
JC, you want to kick us off with that one?
Sure. Yeah. It's a big question. It's a loaded question, like Brett said, but it's important. And it's a really critical question that every person who thinks about this as a career pathway needs to ask themselves, because I can promise you it is not for everyone. And I don't want to say that everyone is not capable, from a skill or from a knowledge gain standpoint to be an entrepreneur, but I think there really is a certain temperament. And so I would frame your question with this answer first. Entrepreneurship is a career. Your career is an investment. And so you need to evaluate the pathway of entrepreneurship for yourself as you would any other investment. I tend to talk about this in terms of you think about portfolio of your stocks and your real estate, and your wealth manager or whoever manages your investments may say, well, are you risk averse or are you risk seeking? And we apply this to the same idea and principle of the investment of entrepreneurship. But the truth is that entrepreneurs are neither risk averse or risk seeking. They are risk ready. And so what I would say is why entrepreneurship? It's because you find yourself as an investor, someone who is not seeking unnecessary risk, nor are you avoiding unnecessary risk, but you are looking for an investment opportunity to believe and buy into yourself and to be risk ready, that when the moment comes that you can be fully committed and full tilt into a project, because that's what it's going to take to be successful. I mean, there are side hustles and there are, side businesses that you can launch, but if you want to be a true dyed-in-the-wool entrepreneur, it takes total and complete commitment from an investment standpoint. That means, you're probably at some point not working another job, so the opportunity cost is high. You're probably putting your own capital into this. And I can promise you that when things get tough and things get tight, you're the first one who doesn't get paid, right? Despite the fact that you're the owner of the company, you're the first one that defers. So I would say, why entrepreneurship? It's because your existing career path is not satisfying you from a mental engagement and from a compensation standpoint, and that you are looking for something that you can be risk ready to put yourself into.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And I would take maybe a slightly different track, right? So I think of entrepreneurship, again, I've spent 30 years bouncing between startups and enterprise. And I think where the world is heading now, entrepreneurship can be a much bigger pool of folks, right? I think historically we think, quit my job, starting a company, go raise some cash and let's go build this. But, the fact is, I think, again, I don't necessarily like the term gig economy, but I think self-employed, I think free agents, I think there's going to be a growing demand for folks who want to run their own company, but it could be very specific into somebody running a Salesforce.com or a CRM specialist that comes in and does their work. So I think the world is opening up to more folks. And the other piece I would say is, even if you want to get into entrepreneurship, you don't have to necessarily be the founder that's running things. If you're up for a challenge and looking for a challenge, and again, to JC's point, you're not afraid of change and wearing multiple hats, there's a lot of opportunities for really good people that have been afraid to move to entrepreneurship, that spent 10, 15, 20 years in corporate, that are now ready to kind of jump into this space. So the way I look at it and encourage people, man, you control your own destiny. But to your point, JC, there's some risk tied to it. But I look at the risk in the corporate world. Who knows what that's going to look like, right, going forward with the remote workforce. I just think we're going to see a lot more opportunity for, call it self-employed or solo entrepreneurs or whatever you want to call it, to take control of your life with what your specialty is. So that's why I encourage it. You got to be ready to do it. You can't go in halfway. I mean, you can test it with the side hustle, but once you're ready to go, man, just make the commitment to it. So, maybe I'll flip it back to Dennis. Dennis, did we answer your question? Anything you want us to go deeper on?
Well, I believe that was very good answers. I think, like, as someone who's actually willing to make that commitment now, I can relate completely with this. And JC and I have talked many times on this, and he basically just kind of echoing what you've said before to me personally. And I think that those are both very great answers, and I think our guests will enjoy that too.
Yeah. Any
Absolutely.
closing thoughts, JC? I actually like this format, Dennis. On the record, on air, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I do too, by the way. I was just going to say, and I don't know where we're at. I know we're trying to keep this in a certain window, but I think people are constantly interested in hearing about our journeys, Brett. We're entrepreneurs as well, and two very different entrepreneurs. My journey started when I went to B school thinking I was going to be a management consultant, and then started consulting entrepreneurs and built my own, consulting practice, and then have evolved from there, into many things. You have a corporate background and you've kind of come to entrepreneurship, from a different dynamic. But what I can tell you for me personally, it's this. I knew for me, the world of entrepreneurship made sense because of the impact that I could have, not only on my own career trajectory, but on so many others. And being able to have that control. And I know I was talking about risk before, but in reality, it's the asymmetry of the return opportunity that makes a lot of sense. And entrepreneurship to me is more than just an investment. It's more than just capital. It's more than just money and returns. But your failure point for this investment is zero. If you do it right, like, okay, you fail and your business is worth nothing and you can move on. But your upside, depending on what you're building is indefinite. Right. You can go as high as you can imagine. So what I like about it for me personally is that it fits my approach and my thinking on life, where I like to minimize my downside, but absolutely maximize my upside, including the impact that I make with the people that I work with, the employees that I hire, the startups that I work with, et cetera.
Yeah, well said. And Dennis, I'll close with, man, you just got to be passionate. Life's too short to not to be passionate about what you're doing. And I think a lot of people, and I was there for a while in the corporate world, just going through the motions, right? Getting paid, doing some good work, but man, it's once you find what you're passionate about and you can actually get paid for it, it's the perfect, even if you're not passionate about the job you're doing, you obviously got to, bring home a paycheck, but find that path sooner rather than later. And your life is going to be so much better.
100%. I absolutely believe in everything that both of you have said. And I also think it takes kind of like a different mindset. There are people that just enjoy being a worker that is okay with just going in, punching a clock, and then getting home and having a beer. And I respect that completely. But there are those that I think all three of us have the same mindset of, I like to be in charge in a way that I can control my own destiny. And those people, myself included, I know from firsthand that I get frustrated when I am in a position where I don't have control of where I can either lead a company or lead the focus or the goal of the path. I'm kind of stammering here because I don't have like the articulation that both of you two orators do have, but I understand where if our listeners can hear kind of like my own frustrations coming through on this, they know that this is the right route and the right path for them. And maybe their first startup doesn't work because, hey, maybe I wasn't really that good at it, or I wasn't really that passionate about it, but hey, I liked doing this. This was something that I had control over, and I'm going to find something else, and I'm going to start that up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And again, at some point in the episodes, we'll get to our kind of journeys, because I don't think any of our first attempts were the overwhelming success that we thought they would be, but you learn from it, right? Learn and evolve. So
cool. Well, that is Mentor Answers, everybody. So I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Brett. We will probably turn it over to a different episode next time, but Mentor Answers, we'd like to try to inject these into every so often. So thank you, everyone. It's nice to meet you. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you, everybody.